Hey everyone, it's Lisa, your favorite baked Floridian. Today we are going to make a variation on a recipe I learned a very long time ago when I was 16 years old, and I worked for a restaurant called Perkins Family Restaurant. The one I worked at was on Belmont Avenue in Youngstown, Ohio. Full disclosure, that restaurant is no longer there. And I hate Perkins. Perkins Family Restaurant, the way the corporate office treated me back then in 1997 during my first Me Too moment was deplorable, and I will never eat there again because of it, and I hope you don't either. But the original recipe they did was a recipe called Chicken Monterey. They've actually taken it off their menu. It's not on their shitty menu anymore. But basically all it really is boneless, skinless chicken breast topped with salsa and cheese. Way later, when I moved to Missouri, somewhere around 2004, 2005, I worked for a little cafe bakery in downtown Sikeston, Missouri that did almost the same recipe, only they seasoned the chicken with taco seasoning prior to adding the cheese and salsa for the finish, and I liked it a lot better. They called it taco chicken. Perkins called it Chicken Monterey because they used Monterey Jack cheese. You can call it whatever you want. It's really super good. So basically for my version, I just have four boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I season them heavily with taco seasoning, and some Goya seasoning. Normally I make my salsa or pico, whatever I'm gonna put on it. It is the holiday weekend. I'm not making nothing too complicated. So this is just leftover salsa, fresh salsa from Walmart. Really, you can use any kind of salsa, which is why I love this recipe. This is just a mild tomato salsa. You could potentially use green salsa, which I also love. You could even use something fruity if you're not keto, like mango salsa, anything. And the same thing goes with the cheese. You can use whatever you want. Perkins used to use Monterey Jack. The bake shop in downtown Sikeston that I worked at, they used to use cheddar, I think. But I'm just using what I had left over. I just had some cheddar and some leftover feta. So I'm gonna use that for this. But the first thing we have to do before we put anything other than the taco seasoning on these chicken breasts is we need to pop them in an oven. I preheated this oven to 400 degrees, and I am going to cook these boneless, skinless chicken breasts all the way before I finish them with the salsa and cheese. When I do boneless, skinless chicken breast, I like to do it hot and fast. It's just the best way to keep any flavor that there actually is in boneless chicken. Boneless chicken is not my preference, but I mean, it's so popular now, and so easy. It works really well with this recipe. So I'm gonna go pop this in the oven, and when it's done, we'll come back and we will finish it off. All right, everyone, my chicken has come out of the oven. It's still steamy hot, which is the best time to actually finish this recipe. If I let my salsa get to room temperature, usually the cheese will melt without you even putting this back in the oven. I like to actually put it back in for a couple minutes while the oven's still warm, but is actually shut off. So all we're really gonna do is spoon some of this salsa over the chicken. I kind of like to drain the salsa a little bit. You don't want as much of the water and the juice from the salsa, just mostly the tomatoes and the onions and everything that's in your salsa. So I'm just going to add generous salsa to this, and I'm going to show you how much I've added. You can add more or less, or none at all. I mean, if you really don't like it. And then I'm going to take the cheese that we decided to add, which was cheddar and feta, because that's what I had left over. And I'm just putting the whole thing. Me and Mr. Robot both like it cheesy. More cheese will require more melting. So I guess now that I've shut the oven off, it's still very warm. So I'm gonna grab this and just pop it back in the oven just for a few minutes, and I'm gonna watch it really close. This is just to melt the cheese and maybe heat the salsa up a little bit if you didn't take it out of the fridge to become room temperature. But I'm gonna pop this back into my warm oven that's now shut off just for a few minutes to let the cheese melt, and then we're going to maybe just season and serve. I usually serve this with a light salad, but if you are non-keto, you could serve this with rice too. Sometimes I do cauliflower rice since you know, I am keto, but either way, it's absolutely delicious. So here is the finished product, our chicken Monterey or taco chicken, whatever you want to call it, plated with some leaf lettuce salad, and we are about to go eat. I hope you guys have a great weekend too.